Hi there, this is Elise Benin, your marketing mentor. And this is the podcast for you if and only if you are ready to leave the feast or famine syndrome behind, and I mean for good. If you've listened to the last few episodes of this podcast, you may have noticed a common thread. All the guests, including today's John Silfies of Silfies Media, they're all doing very different things in very different markets, but they each have the most amazingly positive attitude about what they're trying to do. I think that's why they're finding and seizing the opportunities they see. And they all have chutzpah. But no one is born with chutzpah, I believe, because I've seen it with my own eyes, that you can learn to be positive, to quiet whatever voices are chattering away in your head, and to get out of your own way. So if you're struggling, pay heed. That is, listen and learn. All right, John, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Yeah, excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here too. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I am John Silfies, and I am the founder of Silfies Media, which is a marketing company that serves the developmental disability field.
All right. And I want you to elaborate, right? Tell us a bit about your background. And you have a very specific niche, as they say. So tell us how you came to that and what exactly it is, because people may not understand just from the three words.
Yeah, sure. So I have a pretty unorthodox background. The short of it would be, I failed out of college. I did not make it through. They politely asked me not to come back. And I was married and I was selling roofs for a friend of mine who owned a contracting company. And I was terrible at it. I'm afraid of heights. So it was a very difficult job. I made $0 an hour on commission. And so, my wife, we were, maybe 3 months married. She's, you got to get a job. You got to get a real job, in order for this to work out. So I started to look for a job, a stepping stone, really, to find what I wanted to be when I grew up. All
and
my
how
friends.
Old were you?
So I was this was 2009. I would have been 24 at the time. Okay. And so all my friends had already graduated college. They were getting real jobs. They were starting families, all this stuff that I didn't have. At that time, I was in a rock band and I thought I was going to be a drummer for the rest of my life, but that does not pay the bills. So I found this job online. It was called a direct support professional, and it's basically a caregiver for adults with developmental disabilities. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I went there on my first day on the job and saw some things I had never seen in my life before. You kind of get thrown into the deep end, and it really scared me away. And I went home and I told my wife, I just don't know if that is where I'm supposed to be. But for whatever reason, I went back the next day and I built relationships with people with disabilities for the first time in my life. I learned so much about myself. I learned this unconditional joy, unconditional love that is in this field. Being a person who failed out of college and didn't have all the things that the rest of the world needed you to have. And I had tattoos and all this stuff. And they just welcomed me in as just like a brother into their family. And it was this community that I had never experienced before. And just completely fell in love with this field and the people that are in it and the people that serve in this field. And I knew in some capacity, this was going to be the industry that I wanted to be in for the rest of my life. They had changed my life so much that I wanted to dedicate my life back to this field. And so long story short, I've always shot videos ever since I was a little kid, with the VHS, camera over your shoulder. And so I would bring my camera in and just shoot videos with the folks that I was serving there. And it caught the attention of leadership at the company that I was at. And they put me into a marketing position at that job, which was
with
very
no
different.
Marketing training.
Zero at all. Just thrown into the deep end. and really just cut my teeth and learned from the ground up with no real experience at all what it took to do that. And then from there, I got an opportunity I served there for a few years. My wife and I moved, and I found another provider agency in the Dayton, Ohio area. And they were hiring a director of marketing position. Again, no credentials. I had a little bit of experience under my belt. I had no degree, but they hired me and gave me another chance to be a director of marketing. So I was in charge of their fundraising events, their website, social media, recruitment, and everything involved with marketing for that provider agency, and just learned a ton from the business side of things. Again, I found myself from taking care of people with disabilities to being in the boardroom and doing board reports in a very short amount of time.
Do you know what the word chutzpah means?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had chutzpah. Yes. I just went for it, and you're either going to sink or you swim, and what's the worst that could happen, And that's just kind of how I've taken every single, position is, what's the worst that could happen here? And so I did that. Really learned a ton from that leadership position. I was no longer just like a marketing manager, but I was actually a person of leadership and helped grow that business. And then I went to the government side of things. I got an opportunity from a colleague of mine that told me about a position that was opening up on the government sector. So then I was doing PR and marketing for 11 different county boards of developmental disabilities in the state of Ohio, which was just kind of another step of learning another side of the field, how the red tape of government works and everything that goes. I would say what I learned from that position is how you can create things that make change for large groups of people. I'm no longer impacting just one small group and one small thing, but how can I create stuff that helps regions and large parts of Ohio? And then from there, during the pandemic, was doing a lot of soul searching and figuring out like, how can I make the greatest impact on this world and for this field that has served me so well? And I just knew that there was incredible stories happening in this field every single day, and nobody knows about it. Like, you go across the street and no one knows that Johnny learned how to feed himself for the very first time, or this, direct support professional, this caregiver, is spending their own money to serve this person. Like, there's this incredible service and stories that are happening every day, and nobody was telling that story. So I quit my government job with great retirement and all of that during the middle of a pandemic in order to start my own company, just to tell the story of this field as far and as wide as I could go without anybody telling me, no, you can't do that. So that's kind of how I ended up. Yes. Yeah. So that's kind of how I ended up where I'm at today. I started the company 4 years ago, and we have grown quite a bit over those 4 years. My vision for the company, honestly, when I first started, was if I could just film, 3 videos a month myself, that would be an incredible life. Like, that would be so good. I could pay my bills, do what I love. And now we've grown into a full team with many videographers across the state of Ohio. We travel nationally every week, and we're serving agencies locally here in Ohio, but all the way up to, the arc of the United States, and creating stuff that's going out to every state in the nation. And it's been an incredible ride. It's been a wild ride there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how is business right now? We're talking on July 1st, 2025. Mm-hmm. And just to give the people a sense of, you started as a one-person business, it sounds like. And how many people do you have either as contractors and employees? And if you want to throw some numbers around, just for context, that would be helpful.
Yeah, so we have 4 videographers that work primarily solely for me. They're still subcontractors, but they work. This is their main job, and that actually helps me out not to have actual employee there. I've got a project manager that has. I've gone through 3 of them already, finding the right one. Just because we're in the service business, it's very hard to find service-oriented people. And this latest project manager, he just started in January, was my college roommate, actually, at college. And so he's on board now. And then I have a website contractor that builds high-end websites. And then I have a social media marketer that I contract out for larger campaigns. So like statewide campaigns, or when we have larger budgets for social media marketing, I bring him on board to manage those campaigns as well. So about 7 in all with all of us here.
So you went from being a videographer to a full-time or full-service agency where you're
Mhm,
obviously offering more than just video services
mhm,
to this market. So just give us a little bit more detail about who exactly the clients are
mhm.
and how you market to them.
Yeah. So our clients are kind of in separate buckets. The first is those provider agencies. So these are either nonprofit organizations or for profit small businesses throughout the nation. So these are organizations that actually do the service that serve people with developmental disabilities, whether that is in home care or day programs, transportation, all of that. So we help them tell their story. We help them recruit more care workers to come into the field. We help them with fundraising and internal trainings, all of those things that they need in order to run their business and both public and internal facing content. And then we've got government agencies, which is a different sector. So we have local counties and their boards that run on levy funds that have all sorts of content that they need created, both websites, videos, social media, all of that. And then we have our national entities, and these are usually like membership organizations made up of either provider agencies or county boards or state government agencies. And those national entities are really creating content that goes out into, they serve their members with the content that we create. So we help them create awareness pieces or marketing pieces or generalized trainings that everybody can use. And so those are kind of our three sectors: local, government, and then our national entities are really the pieces that we serve.
And I mean, a lot of people might look at that market or those buckets and say, well, they don't have enough money to
Mhm.
spend on this type of thing. How am I going to make a sustainable living for myself?
Yeah.
Not to mention my employees and colleagues. How would you answer that?
Yeah. So funding in this field it is a challenge. Because some of the nonprofits, they do not have the budgets for those. But what we have found is grant writing is huge. So we actually help them write the grants. So what we'll do is we'll propose a project to them and say, hey, if you can do this 12-month campaign, this is the outcome that you could have based on what we've done in the past. And we'll help you find the grant that funds that project. And it's a win-win, because then once they get the funding, we're the sole people that they have chosen to use for that grant dollars. And so we've actually built a large portion of our business on grant dollars alone. So we go out and help find them, we write them. Sometimes they know of them, and then we just help them. We create the pitch for them. Yeah, the grant dollars have been a huge part of our business, helping them find those grants and write them. The
And
other
who
side of
who writes them? Who writes them?
I do personally, actually, just because I know the field so well and I'm kind of the expert. Because I've had success in it in the past, I kind of know what the grant funders are looking for. And so it's one of those tasks that someday maybe I can pass that on to an actual grant writer. But as of
And
right
if
now, it kind of fits into, it's worth the time that I spend because it turns into projects for my team.
Interesting. And, just if there are any grant writers listening to this podcast who may want to pitch their services to
Yeah,
John, I'm sure he would
absolutely.
be
I will
open to it.
gladly. Yeah, gladly.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah. And so the other side of that is we, at the very beginning, really had to educate this group of people who have not spent dollars on marketing ever. You look at a lot of websites of the nonprofit entities, and they're, especially in the developmental disabilities field, and they're very old. The videos that they created were from 1997. They've used that same video for a decade or more. And so at the very beginning, there was a lot of legwork that had to be done to educate them that dollars spent on marketing actually brings in revenue and people into your industry. So if we can market this golf outing that you have coming up, if you spend $5,000, you can make $35,000. And so there was a lot of education that we had to do to say, this is what your return can be if we do this. But since then, I'd say the other kind of help in our success has been, I have spent over a decade building relationships through all of the different jobs that I had. So I was able to rub shoulders with provider agencies and executive directors and county boards, and even the director of DODD, the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, the top person of our entire state. knew me by name and knew the work that I was doing already. So when I started my business, I already had this foundation of relationship and people knew the work that I was doing before I even opened the doors. So it was a very easy, that first point of entry was very easy because they already knew. And so that kind of laid the foundation for everything else.
And I know also that you do or have done a lot of speaking and conferences. Talk about that as a marketing tool also. How does that work?
So one of the questions, how do you market your services? What I have found is that my greatest marketing tool is not emails or cold calls or anything like that. If I can get in front of people and I can share my story or I can share my passion with them or I can sit down across the table from them, that's really where that trust is built and that sale comes through. And so I find great value in doing workshops. I'll take, even if I have to travel across the nation to do one small workshop, that could turn into 3 new clients out of there. I've had the privilege of doing keynote speeches across the nation where I have an audience of 3,000 people, and I have this chance to capture that. And so I find the value of, if I can talk to you, if I can sit down with you, or I can speak with you in the room, that has been the greatest marketing tool that we have. Not to tout, my own abilities or who I am, but I'm so passionate about this field that it's just natural for me to share that with people when I'm in the room with them.
It's interesting because a lot of times I think people are afraid of being arrogant or coming across as arrogant or bragging or anything like that.
Yeah.
And you're talking about your passion and your enthusiasm for the world and the market, especially in the people in the community. And I imagine that's related to the trust that you've had to build also through your marketing. Can you connect those dots for me?
I would say one of the biggest things for us, and it's me and also people on my team have also been in this field prior to working for my company. So we have kind of a history here. When I can say that I've changed adult diapers many times in my life. Like I've done that work. I've made $9 an hour to do that and to change people's lives and all those things. It connects you with the people. They know that I'm not just some company that's coming in to sell them a service, but I'm one of you. I'm in the family, and in this field, a lot of leadership, executive directors or owners of companies, they started as direct support professionals. They have the same story that I do. And so there's this connection point that is just this inherent trust that you have when, like, man, we've done it. We've been there. You know the story. You're not just coming and getting a contract from us, but you actually care about the people. Like, even in the way that we film, we honor the people. We'll set our cameras down for an hour and play checkers with the person if that's what they want to do, because that's the most important part of our job, is serving the person, not creating the content. And so I would say in marketing, building that trust really is, you have to know the market very well, but also you have to have lived experience to understand. You have to know the question. It helps me to know the questions that they're going to ask before they ever ask them. I'm able to answer all of their questions and speak their language and know the pain points that they already have without them ever having to say it. And that just builds that trust of, like, you get us. Like, you don't have to learn. Like, there's no learning curve here. We can tell you what you need and you can run with it. And so that's really where that trust comes from, is really just hard earned years and years of diving into this field and learning it as much as I possibly could.
And in a previous conversation, you also mentioned that you're a huge fish in a very small pond.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Say more about that.
Yeah, that serves us really well. And we've done research. We've tried to find, I want other companies to come and join this field because we need it desperately. The more that we can have companies come in and serve this industry with real heart and tell these stories in meaningful ways, I want I want competition, because it just means the story is getting out there more. But what we found is 9 times out of 10, when we talk to customers, new people that we've never met before, they're like, we didn't even know that this sort of service is built for our industry alone. Like, we didn't even know that this was an opportunity. And then it's an easy sell of, man, we have to work with you. I would say finding that what other people would look at from the outside and say, well, that's not even worth it. Like that industry is so small. You can't build a business on that. You need to think broad and wide. How do we hit the most people possible? And what I found is this small network of people serves us also on the side of word of mouth sales is everything. Our whole business has been built on, oh, we worked with this person, that person talked to them, like, you got to work with John and Silfies Media. It has made our job much easier on the sales side to be able to just build those relationships naturally. And when you look at it, we have 50 states in the United States. That's not even talking globally. We have every single state, every county has government agencies. There's 88 counties just in the state of Ohio. Every state has their own organization. Every single sector in our field has their own membership organization. And so it's a large pond to fish from, but it's a small enough one that there's not a lot of eyes on it. And not a lot of people want to come in here because they see barriers of funding or budgets or and all of that. And so, yeah, that has served us very, very well to build those relationships and be that word of mouth.
And I will want to come back to this as we wrap up in a little bit, because that sounds like a segue to the baby step idea and suggestion. Like if someone wanted to compete with you or complement your services or go after this market, what should they do? So hold that answer.
Yeah, sure.
While I ask you about, number one, AI. Is AI affecting your business? How are you using it? Is telling these stories something AI can do, will be able to do? How are you seeing this?
There's two pools there. There's those that are afraid of it and those that lean into it. And we've chosen to really lean into the power of AI, both from a business standpoint, but also through the projects and the pieces that we're creating for our customers. For example, social media content. We have a few customers where they just want us to post regularly every single week of these pieces. So I have an inbox built for each customer. They send us stories regularly to that inbox, and then I create social media posts out of the things that come into our inbox. I use AI every single week, or I don't, but our team uses AI every single week to say like, hey, can you write a Facebook and Instagram post with this image and this stuff? It doesn't always get it right, but it's a great starting point that at least captures the heart of what we're looking at. Now we're able to produce 10 posts in a couple of minutes, as opposed to an entire day I'm having a person create all of these things. And so as long as the message and story is getting out there, it doesn't really matter to me the tool that's being used to do that. If the tool is effective, we're going to use it. The other side of that that's really exciting is the AI tools in video are getting incredible. And so we are doing kind of an integrated approach. We're not using AI to create video content, but to enhance our content. So, for example, one project we're working on right now, there's a story. There's a man in a room all alone, and he's drawing on a little piece of paper. And we wanted a person to come and hit a button that says include, and the whole room becomes vibrant. And it flips upside down, and paint colors go all over the wall and all of that. We don't have a $2 million budget to do that practically, or to have a motion graphics person do that. But the AI tools today, we can film the scene and then have AI manipulate the scene that we filmed to create the end goal. So it has enhanced our ability to tell these stories in a way that we've never been able to do within the budgets that we have. It's leveled the playing field of our ability to create incredible pieces of work. And we're just getting started. I mean, it's just getting started, but we lean into it as much as we can in order to not replace, but to enhance the work that we're doing today.
And you're not worried about being replaced, that these agencies will just say, okay, Silfies Media, thank you, but we can do this on our own with these tools now.
Yeah, I think fear is always going to be there no matter what, but I hold on to the belief that the human element of our lived experience of when we walk into a room, even I tell people all the time that sometimes the win isn't the video being completed. Sometimes the win is for that person with Down syndrome to feel like a movie star for a day. Like we come in with our camera crew, we throw a big party, they get craft services and food for the day. We make them like that in itself is an incredible moment for that person or the team that we're filming. AI can't replace that. And so what we're selling is not a video. We're selling an experience. We're selling celebration of your team. We're selling honoring the people that you serve. And I don't think AI is ever going to be able to replace that. And if they do, and it helps more people learn about this field, great. Then more people know about this field and I'll be along for the ride. And I had a good run. So yeah, that's kind of where I sit. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. 2 more questions. What do you know now that you wish you knew when you started?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot. That could be a whole podcast in and of itself. A couple of things that come to mind. One is it's okay, first of all, to make mistakes. Like there's no way you're going to go through this journey of building a business, especially like a successful business, without making mistakes that seem like you're not going to get through that. Like it's going to happen at some point. You're going to look at yourself in the mirror and say like, why did I make that choice? And how am I going to get through this? And that's okay. It's going to be fine. You'll find a way. There's a reason you started the business and you're going to make it, even if it fails, you're going to make it. And then secondly, the other thing that I wish I knew is knowing who to listen to. Whenever you start a business and it does start to gain some traction, there's a lot of people that want to come around it because they see opportunity. They see this thing that they can kind of hitch to, or this thing that has these legs that can actually go somewhere far. And so a lot of people have a lot of advice and it's hard to know who to listen to and what advice is actually sound advice. And it may be good advice. It just doesn't apply to your specific situation. Right. It may have worked for them. It doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And so I wish one thing that I knew is to gather all the information first and then make that decision based on the people that I trust, that I know have my best interest in mind. I've had lots of people who had their own best interest in mind. And so the decisions that they were helping me make were helping themselves. And so those are the two things. It's you're going to make mistakes and that's okay. Like there's nothing that you can't overcome. And two, like just knowing who you can trust and whose advice you listen to is really, really important.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. And trusting yourself also about who you can trust, right?
Yes. Right.
Yeah. All right. So let's wrap up with this baby step question. And I have narrowed it a little bit, right? What baby steps should or could someone take if they wanted to compete with you in this market? Yeah.
So first, and I don't even know if it's a step, but you have to kind of be born with it. And it's the heart for people. If you're going to come into this industry and you're going to do something to serve, whether it's developmental disabilities or just service industry, people industry in general, you got to care about the person first. And so the way to do that is to immerse yourself in this field. So volunteer, find a provider agency or local government, find your local Goodwill and ask them, hey, is there any way that I can volunteer? Can I work at the Special Olympics and help out, coach a team, whatever that looks like? Immerse yourself in this field and you're going to fall in love with the people. Your life will be changed forever. And then that will motivate everything else that you do. Second, I would say is find 1 or 2 products, like narrow it down to 1 or 2 products that you know that you can do well at the beginning. That's really where my foundation, I just did video. That was my only lane. I knew how to shoot a video. That's all I'm going to do. I had all this other experience, but I'm just focusing on this. And then once that product grew to a point that I could start to think about expanding, then I added another service. And then once that department grew, then I was able to do websites and grew that. So I would say start slow, find those 1 or 2 products that you know that you can already knock out of the park and focus on that until it grows to a point where you can expand. But the first is that foundation of care. Like you got to love the people because it's not easy. Everyone knows running your own business is not easy. If you don't have the reason why behind what you're doing, it's going to be really difficult to weather through all of that.
Before I thank you, John, tell the people where they can find you online.
Yeah, so you can find us. We're on Facebook primarily, Silfies Media. If you just look up Silfies Media there. And then also our website is silfiesmedia.com, SILFIES media.com. And there you can see some of the work that we do, some of the content and websites we've created, videos we've made, and kind of who we are and what we do in our heartbeat. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate you sharing what you've learned and the heart in it and in your marketing. And you definitely have the positive attitude that's required. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course. I do love John's baby steps. Immerse yourself in your field until you fall in love with it. Then narrow your offering to the 1 or 2 services that you are most confident about. And then just let it grow from there. So if you want my help figuring all of this out, I do hope you'll take advantage of my free mentoring session. You can find that and lots more resources, including my simplest marketing plan, at marketing-mentor.com. So enjoy, and I'll see you next time.